Welcome everybody to another podcast from VexX Gaming. I am of course Hellraiser, and joined with me as always is Halix.
What is up, everybody?
Today's topic is going to be, in general kind of topic. Today we're going to be talking about upcoming games that are going to be coming out this year, and basically how the industry is favored this year with the games that have come out currently. Um, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll start with upcoming games. There's a few that I'd like to mention right off the bat that are probably some of the more talked about, but maybe they're not more known. Um, First of which is going to be Darkfall Unholy Wars. Darkfall Unholy Wars is going to be awesome, contrary to what some other people might say in this room with free-for-all loot. Darkfall is a great game. For those of you that played the very first Darkfall, this is basically a reiteration of the original Darkfall without the mistakes, quote unquote. Now, don't get me wrong, that doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't going to be any mistakes, but that's beside the point. It's basically going to be what Darkfall was supposed to be in the beginning, without the grind, without a lot of the things. For those of you that never have played Darkfall, you can check out Darkfall Unholy Wars by going to darkfallonline.com and checking out their site. Some of the things that Darkfall Unholy Wars has to offer is huge land battles. The world is a massive, massive, massive open world. There can be thousands of players on the world, and it's just one world um, per region. So there's like a EU server for all the Europeans and an NA server for all of the North Americans, and then everybody plays on that single server in real time. So it's pretty cool. And then they have huge sea battles. You can build ships, you can construct your cities, in certain locations in the area that are designated to have cities built. Now they have talked about giving you a little bit more freedom in what you're going to be able to build in these cities, and they said that it's going to be a little bit more like the Star Wars Galaxies city building system, where there's a platform and then you can, you can build pieces of whatever you want and then build around that area. So instead of having kind of a pre-built city like it was in the original Darkfall, you're going to have much more control over how your city looks, where you want to build gates, so on and so forth. Again, it's a huge seamless world. The world is called Aegon. And there is a lot of land and water, so it has a lot of area to do a bunch of different things in. They're also implementing what's called a flexible role system, I guess, is what they're talking about. And I guess essentially this is what came from, I believe they were calling them, oh gosh, I can't remember what they were calling them in the original one, but it never got implemented in the very beginning, and it was something that they had always talked about, giving a little bit more diversity in the players, because Darkfall is a game where there is no quote unquote role. You don't pick a class or anything like that. You pick your race, which has its own racial value, and then everybody can do everything else. It just depends on where you want to go, in what direction, and what you train to do that. And in this case, with the new reiteration, you're going to have that same ability, but you're also going to be able to spec certain ways to become more powerful in those if you choose to do so. So the way that it describes it is like, if you want to be a master fire mage, you can master fire magic when you buy, and you can buy fire magic. And right when you buy fire magic, you're going to take a hit to its negative. So obviously you won't be able to do water magic. So right there, it's limiting you in what it was able to do before, because you were able to have every magic skill in Darkfall 1. Now it's going to counteract like it was supposed to in the beginning, where if you get fire, you get water. You don't get water. If you get water, you don't get fire. Same thing if you get poison, you're not going to be able to get some other things like that. Then you can spec into those, taking a hit somewhere else, but gaining a better in whatever. So like for instance, if you wanted to be the master fire mage, you wouldn't be able to do archery anymore or something like that, but it would give you more damage in your fire, and vice versa. So there's going to be a lot of different roles that you can fulfill. If you want to be a master archer, then you're going to take a hit in magic, and so on and so forth. So it's just a more elaborate system on kind of the skeleton system that they had in place in the Darkfall 1. Of course, Darkfall is and always will be a full loot game. So you get to keep what you kill, players loot and everything like that. If they're farming, if it's in a huge siege, if you can get to it and you can grab the loot, it's yours for the taking. And I think the next thing that the game really offers is it's the persistence of the world. I mean, what you did today is going to affect the world tomorrow. If you took this city and that was a hub for, say, a trade, that was a trade hub. It was a central trade hub that everybody went to, and they used that as a trade. And you just took that off the map as a trade hub because it's yours now. That's changing the fabric of exactly what people are doing from their day-to-day thing. And that's really what it comes down to in a sandbox is it changes everything. Um, I'm really excited. If you can't tell for Darkfall, what essentially was called Darkfall 2.0, and is now an Unholy Wars. It comes out in November, and Vex will definitely be playing it.
Some of VexX at least. I am not a fan of free-for-all loot or you keep what you kill, especially when it comes to my shit. If I made it and I've been farming for it and all of a sudden somebody comes along and just destroys me out of the blue, catches me from behind, and I lose all my shit, I'm probably going to be a little upset.
Care Bear. Moving on. Unless you would like to add anything else about Darkfall, as I know that you don't really know about the game too much.
And I don't know a whole lot. I did follow it a little bit back in the day when it was coming out, like prior to its release in the original iteration. And I do like a lot of the systems that it has. Everything is good, in my opinion, except for the open loot. That's the only thing I don't like. Everything else looks awesome. I mean, I could probably get around that, and I know there are ways to avoid losing everything, and you can store things and other shit, but don't know that I'll be touching the game. We'll see.
I will turn you to the dark side, sir.
We'll see.
Our next game we're going to talk about is Hawkin. Um, this is another game that Vex has been following for quite some time. I just actually recently showed what Hawkin was all about to Halix here, and he was like, "Whoa, what is this?" Hawkin is essentially Mech Warrior on steroids. I don't even know if you could call it that. It's like a blend of Mech Warrior meets Armored Core on steroids. I guess
Yeah, it works.
that's a decent way to describe it. It's basically going to be a giant mech MMO, and it's going to have some of the most crazy battles. The way that they're talking about it, persistence in world. It's actually going to be not like what the recent MechWarrior Online came out. It's not going to be like that where it's just team deathmatch essentially. It's going to actually be land control, and so on and so forth with mechs. It's really kind of rough right now, and they don't have a lot of information on it. You can go to www.playhawkin.com and register for the upcoming beta. It does say that the beta will be coming out 12/12/12. Um, so rar. I don't know if that's an announcement date that it's going to be launched on 12/12/12, or if that's when the beta starts. It's really kind of the information that you get on their site is a little bit weird. So I'm pretty sure that it does say that the open beta starts 12/12/12, and some people I already know are getting beta keys. A couple of the guys in Vex have gotten beta keys and are really excited to get into it. So we probably have more information on that as it comes along.
It looks pretty wicked. The way that I'm imagining it with how land control works in there is, imagine taking PlanetSide 2, removing all of the classes, and putting in mechs. That's the way that I see it. And it looks so freaking cool. I just can't wait to get my hands on the game.
PlanetSide 2 with nothing but BFRs.
Ridiculous.
That's a good way to describe it. Hopefully the persistence in the world is just as good as PlanetSide, and you're going to have one pretty epic game. Another thing that they've said is that in previous editions of mech games, it's been really slow-paced due to making it ultra-realistic in terms of weight and so on and so forth. Like you're driving around a 5-ton piece of steel. So they're making it in Hawkin, it's supposed to be in the future. So there's technology that is made you're able to do stuff, and that's why I say it's a little bit more like Armored Core because you have jet thrusters and so on and so forth, and so you can actually have pretty mobile battles. Like I've some of the stuff that I've seen, they're not moving slow like Mech Warrior, where you're like, oh god, oh no, or oh he's hitting me, and you're trying to turn, you're just all slow. This is gonna be some fast-paced mech battles that I'm really excited for.
including busting through walls.
Absolutely. So Hawkin is definitely something to take a look at. Our next game that we're going to touch on is Blade and Soul. Blade and Soul is NCSoft's game that they just recently announced that they are westernizing, basically taking another Korean MMO and bringing it over to North America and changing the grind and changing all other things. Essentially, it's going to be another one of those where it's really cartoonish art with big breasts and small, skimpy clothes and so on and so forth, very similar to Terra. This one I'm not so excited for, but there are some of the Vex members that are excited for it. Um, I think that it's just going to be another reiteration of another reiteration, and we've seen it time and time again where things that are popular in Korea aren't necessarily popular over here. There are some things, but not all of them.
Right, and the combat system in Blade and Soul is very similar to what you would see in Terra. Uh, to me, though, and what I've watched on the game and seen, some of the combat can be slightly fast-paced, but Terra takes the cake when it comes to combat because it seems so much slower, especially spellcasting in Blade and Soul. Some of your spells, you just sit there and you can channel for a good 20 seconds. It does damage over time to the enemy, but it just looks so ridiculously slow. It just doesn't seem to lend itself to an action MMO at any rate, in my opinion.
We'll see how it plays out. They did say that they just officially announced it, so we don't know when it's going to come out. There's no been official information on when it's going to come out in North America, but I'm sure that there's going to be a beta at some point in time. And as always, Vex will be keeping an eye on those kind of games that we have popularity around. So I think those are the three games that we really wanted to touch on for upcoming games. There are some more upcoming games that are out there, but nothing that's really gonna jump out at me at least, or at you, I would hope. You know, I do think that there are some other ones that are like really not very well known and not very. I think they're gonna be browser games mostly and stuff like that. For instance, another iteration of Black Prophecy is coming out, and the IP for Black Prophecy was just, basically sold off, and a new company picked it up. The new company is Limbrick Entertainment. For those of you that have played Black Prophecy before, it was like a Twitch um, ship game, and you had a lot of customizable options to modify your ship and so on and so forth. But the game is really, really awkward, and it didn't play right, and a lot of people liked it, and a lot of people didn't like it. But I think it's gonna be, I don't know, I don't think that that's gonna be one of the games that's gonna be really popular this season. I think the ones that we've touched on are gonna have their own crowd, and are definitely gonna be a draw for probably next year, for sure.
Oh yeah, easily.
So now I'd like to talk about this year in gaming, and this year isn't even over. And this year in gaming has been pretty spectacular if you look at what has come out so far this year and what they're doing with all of the games now. For instance, the big push to free to play has been tremendous this year, and you're actually seeing where they were being fine as pay to play, but they know what's going on with free to play, and they're actually changing over and going from